ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of fun with this guy. This guy's been on our show quite a few times. He's become one of those big writers and analysts right now for the very own Denver Broncos. We are now talking to Mile High Huddle, Broncos and NFL analyst, the one, the very own, Lance Sanderson. Lance, what's up, man?
Oh, not a whole lot. Thanks for having me back on the show, guys. It's been a minute. I unfortunately had some family issues come up the last time I was supposed to come on the show, but glad to be here. Excited to talk Denver Broncos with you guys, and hopefully I float up some stuff every now and again. But guess what? I'm here bringing some freaking heat tonight.
Now, I want to say something. I don't know if anybody knows who Lance is. He's been on our show quite a few times. When Lance came on the show, he wasn't the biggest known analyst for the Broncos. And over the last 3 years, he's grown significantly. And now his podcast is doing significantly well. He's doing a lot of things with the Denver Broncos. He's one of their big lead analysts, and we're very happy to have him on the show. And the Broncos are a very good team right now, expected to win their division. What does that tell you, Travis? I'm just kidding. Anyways, I want to get into obviously the division, as the Kansas City Chiefs have been dominating that division over the last 8 years. It's been absolutely dominated by Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and their goons. You have Bo Nix, who had a sensational rookie year, 25-year-old kid, really developed right in front of our eyes. The second half of the season took his team to the playoffs and just was sensational all the way through. Was making so many significant throws, and I think could be a superstar in this league with Sean Payton developing him. What were your thoughts last year, and where do you see him with his development this year?
Well, I think the big thing here, Errol, is that what you saw out of Bo Nix was mostly linear growth. I mean, obviously the first week against the Seattle Seahawks was an atrocious outing for him. It took a couple of weeks for him. The Pittsburgh game was really bad. 3, 4, 5 weeks into the season, you finally actually started to see him get a little bit more comfortable within the offense, getting the play calls out. Because Sean Payton, you know how he is. You guys were talking about the Saints earlier. That Sean Payton's play calls are like 25 or 30 words long. He's got multiple different formations. He's got multiple different alignments. He's got multiple different instructions for every single player. And it takes a lot to just to be able to learn that. But one thing with Bo Nix was in the pre-draft process, Sean Payton really liked his ability to process all of that information, relay it back out quickly, then go out on the field and translate that to what was actually supposed to be happening. It took a while, but when you watch the season go, that linear growth, it was I don't want to say a straight line. The Indianapolis game where he threw 3 interceptions, that was a really bad game for him. Great defensive game plan from the Indianapolis Colts, but he continued to grow and continue to grow and continue to grow. And everyone's all excited about Jayden Daniels, but Bo Nix finished the season with more passing yards, more passing touchdowns, and less interceptions than Jayden Daniels, the guy who unanimously won the NFL Rookie of the Year this last season. So he's doing such a great job in terms of just being a competitor. I mean, I got a handful of stats here. You know, when you talk about like completion percentage over expected, one of the biggest metrics you can talk about in terms of quarterback play, negative 2.4% completion percentage over expected, 32nd in the NFL. That doesn't sound great, though, right? Like, that sounds pretty bad. 32 quarterbacks in the NFL, he's 32nd. Pat Mahomes was at negative 1.7, 30th in the league. Josh Allen, negative 0.3%, 23rd in the league. Go back and see why completion percentage over expected matters. There was a lot of screen passes in the quick passing game. I mean, 31% of his quick passing attempts went on screen plays. It was most in the NFL by 3 percentage points. But he also led the NFL in yards passing outside of the pocket per NFL Next Gen stats. He was 12th in the NFL in terms of the success rate and throws that went at least 20 air yards. This dude had some struggles early, but down the stretch, he became what is a very capable starting quarterback. And now that he's more focused on and more familiar with this offense, I think he's going to have a big jump in year 2.
So last time you were on the show, you were mentioning you wanted the Broncos to focus on running back and tight end in the offseason to get that better in the middle of the field. They draft R.J. Harvey in the second round of the draft. They signed J.K. Dobbins, and then they signed Giants legend Evan Engram. What are your thoughts to those moves?
Well, first and foremost, Evan Engram is one of those players that while he is qualified as a tight end, he doesn't do necessarily very well as an inline blocker. He's more of a receiving tight end. They're going to line him up in the slot this year. Go back to the preseason game against the Arizona Cardinals. Yeah, it's preseason. Bo Nix wasn't the one throwing the football, but they ran a 5-yard drag route that he turned into a 58-yard run after the catch. It was a freaking amazing play. So that, to me, right off the bat, is just a huge boon for this passing attack. And going back to Bo Nix here, the Broncos threw their tight ends the second fewest of any team in the NFL on a percentage basis, ahead of only the New York Giants, who had the worst tight end group in the NFL last season. So to get an explosive playmaker to add to a Cortland Sutton, to add to Marvin Mims, to add to a third-round draft pick in Pat Bryant, who I think is going to have a monster season this year as their number 2 wide receiver, that's just another big get to add more explosive plays for this Broncos offense. Now, going to the running back room, you obviously talked about R.J. Harvey. They bring in J.K. Dobbins from the Los Angeles Chargers. Obviously, fifth-year player out of Ohio State. He was an explosive player at Ohio State. Was one of the, in terms of explosive runs, was one of the best explosive runners at Ohio State, and had 900 yards in 14 games for the Chargers this last season. But then you add on R.J. Harvey, 60th overall or 61st overall, something like that, for the Broncos in the second round. There is only one player in college football last season that had more rushes of 15-plus yards than R.J. Harvey. Can you guys name that player for me just one time?
Genty?
It's Ashton Genty, who went 6th overall to the freaking the Las Vegas Raiders. Like, this Broncos team, they brought in 86% of the roster that went to the playoffs last season. And then they add players like Evan Engram, R.J. Harvey, J.K. Dobbins to the offense. They bring in Talanoa Hufanga and Greenlaw to add to the defense that was one of the best in the NFL last season. This Broncos team, and the way that it is structured right now, has a very good opportunity to not only make the playoffs, but make some noise in the playoffs coming up this year.
Yeah, Lance, we talked about what you felt like they needed. Do you think they did enough and brought in some of the guys and the names that you said to not only to go and make some noise, but to really do some damage on both sides of the ball?
Yeah, absolutely. And Job, I'm glad that you're here tonight, because last time I was on and was talking with you, you said your son is a huge Broncos fan. So
huge. Yep.
I'm curious to what his thoughts are. I mean, you're obviously a Lincoln, Nebraska guy, and the pitching in Nebraska you did was legendary in the Omaha World Series. But just going back to this Broncos team, I mean, they added enough explosiveness to the offense, and hopefully Bo Nix has that year 2 jump that you want to see from quarterbacks. But defensively, that's really where it's at. And Coach, Aaron Fisher is in the chat here saying, I want to hear about Jayden Daniels, the 20th overall pick for this Broncos defense. You're talking about a player that has inside-outside versatility. He can play the safety. Right now, it doesn't sound like he's going to be a starter for this defense, because Jaquan McMillan, who was an outstanding slot cornerback for them, is probably going to start, at least for the beginning part of this season. So Jayden Daniels is another player that brings physicality to this defense. It sounds like that's what the Broncos were really trying to focus on the most on the defensive side of the football, was shoring up the interior run lanes in terms of what is happening at the second level. Bring in Greenlaw, bring in a guy like Talanoa Hufanga, who plays better in the box, and then you bring in a guy like Jayden Daniels, who has, like I said, that inside-outside versatility, but is an absolutely elite tackler at the second level. This defense that was already very good last year just got a lot better.
As everybody knows, we are talking to Mile High Huddle Broncos and NFL analyst Lance Sanderson. Lance, we look at the Broncos, and they're an organization that needed to rebuild. They added Russell Wilson. They paid him a lot of money. They traded for him, and obviously they fell flat on their face. Then they made a trade with the Saints to bring in Sean Payton, who retired, walked away from the game. They gave up a significant amount to bring Sean Payton in. He took on Russell Wilson. It didn't work for a year. They finally took on that money and said, go ahead, we'll take care of the money. Just get the hell out of here. They went for Bo Nix, and now you see the team. It's starting to transform into Sean Payton's team. It took a while. It took a couple of years, which he said it was going to do. And now they have a chance right now to dethrone a team like the Kansas City Chiefs that have been dominant for the last 8 seasons in a division that was really them, the Kansas City Chiefs, and everybody else. Now you see Kansas City. They're getting older. They're superstar players like Jones. Patrick Mahomes is still fairly young, but Kelsey is on the tail end of his career. I don't know how long Hunt and Pacheco have in the NFL. They have an offensive line that they decided in the offseason to trade Tooney to the Chicago Bears. They added maybe a little bit more talent to the offensive line, but they're an older team than they have been. You look at now the Broncos, they're one of the youngest teams, one of the more talented teams right now in the NFL. Where do you see them match up against the Kansas City Chiefs this year?
Well, quite honestly, I think the Broncos have an opportunity to dethrone the Chiefs, but until I actually see it, I can't really believe it. I mean, Kansas City has won the division, if not 8, 9, like 9 out of the last 10 seasons, if not even all 10.
Yeah, the Broncos Super Bowl was the last time the Broncos won the division.
Yeah, exactly. And man, that doesn't feel like a decade ago. Like, quite honestly, I remember that like I was like yesterday, to tell you the truth. But with Kansas City, I mean, the big thing is obviously that offensive line is the real big issue. You move on from Joe Tooney at left guard, who played left tackle in the Super Bowl, and did a really good job filling in on at left tackle there. They go out and they get Josh Simmons, who I've heard a lot of raving reviews from people I talk with in Kansas City. And it sounds like that offensive line is going to be better. But the Denver Broncos led the NFL last season with 63 sacks. It was a franchise record. 61 and a half of those sacks are back on this roster right now. The only player that had 1.5 sacks that is not back is linebacker Cody Barton, who the Broncos upgraded to Dre Greenlaw. Tell me that doesn't make you excited about what this Broncos team can bring. And with Patrick Mahomes, sure, he does a great job extending plays, moving vertically throughout the pocket. Edge pressure is really where it's at. It causes him the big-time disruptions. You've got Nick Benito, who came off a career-high 13.5 sacks last season. He was number 3 in the NFL. He's looking at getting a big-time contract extension, probably following this season. By the way, I've got some inside sources on this. That it sounds like he wants to wait until at least Micah Parsons gets his deal done, but also that he wants to wait until after the season, kind of a prove-it deal. He's betting on himself for the most part. But 13.5 sacks coming off the edge. Then you get a guy like Jonathan Cooper, who had 8.5 sacks. He may not be the most explosive pass rusher in the NFL, but if that's your number 2 guy, you get, 21 sacks if you add those numbers together between those 2 guys coming off the edge. And with Patrick Mahomes, when you have edge pressure coming around the outside, that's where one of his biggest weak marks is as a quarterback. So to me, I think defensively, that you add Jahdae Barron, you add Greenlaw, you add Talanoa Hufanga. Rashee Rice is suspended for the first 6 games. It doesn't matter for the Broncos, but we've got to see how fast he's going to be able to catch it back up. Denver's defense has always been very capable of stopping Mahomes. I mean, go back to the game last season where the Broncos were in Kansas City, drove down to actually go and kick a game-winning field goal. It was blocked. It was a 35-yard game-winning field goal. The Broncos and Bo Nix took a 4-minute drive, got down to 3 seconds left to beat the Chiefs in Kansas City. Denver's there. They can absolutely compete with Kansas City in this division. It's just until I actually see it and actually watch it happen, not a 38-0.
Lance, you don't want to jinx yourself, okay? That's fine. I'll jinx yourself for you, all right? They're absolutely, unless there's some catastrophical injury that the Broncos are going to have, the Broncos should win the division. They're much better than Kansas City. From top to bottom, 53-man roster. I don't think you can – and you, like you said, they added Greenlaw, they added Hufanga. I mean, this team it's absolutely loaded. The secondary could be the best secondary in football. You can argue that. It's scary how much better they are.
There's no argument. It is. It 100% is. And you're bringing 10 guys to the full, which is Broncos kept five cornerbacks and 5 safeties. Brandon Jones. I don't know. You guys probably don't even recognize the name.
Safety who was with the Dolphins.
Yeah, he was a former Miami Dolphin. He came into Denver, and they asked him to play a lot more single high. He was the number 2 safety in the NFL according to Pro Football Focus coverage grade at free safety last season at over 90.3%. This dude is a fantastic player. You add another guy that like Hufanga that can play in the box. You bring in Greenlaw. Alex Singleton's coming back from a torn ACL that derailed his season early on, and you upgrade the linebacker room. Then you add another player like Jahdae Barron. This defense is absolutely freaking spectacular, guys, and they look like it. I mean, I understand it's preseason. The depth of this unit looks very solid, but what we're hearing out of Broncos camp, what I've seen at Broncos camp, this defense is lights out, guys. It's crazy good.
Yeah,
there are people in the media around Denver comparing them to the 2015 Broncos defense. That's one of the best defenses in NFL history. Yep. Seriously, it's that good.
Yeah, I want to reference back to, obviously, what everyone's saying about the Chiefs. Like, you don't want to beat them by blitzing type thing because of Mahomes doing it against the blitz. Now, we've known Vance Joseph in the past has been blitz happy. Like, where are your thoughts with the Broncos defense? Do they have to emphasize that kind of game plan more often? What are the percentages maybe to mix it up, too?
So I have NFL Pro pulled up really fast. It might take me a second here, but I know the Broncos were, I think, number 3 in terms of blitz percentage last season.
Yeah, I know it's pretty high. I didn't know how high it was.
Yeah, it's ridiculously high. They were right behind the Minnesota Vikings. So give me just 1 second here if I can find it. I cannot get my computer to work all of a sudden. Anyways, no, it's like team defense. That's the right one. Here we go. Now I'm actually on the right track here. In terms of blitz percentage, maybe. Regardless, it really, quite honestly, it doesn't matter. I know that the Broncos were one of the highest blitz percentage defenses, which also combined into their uses of man coverage. They were second, I believe, only behind the Minnesota Vikings and Brian Flores in blitz percentage combined with man coverage percentage on the back end in the NFL last season. That's what they prioritize. They want to get after the quarterback. They led the NFL in total pressures last year, and they also have a guy on the interior in Zach Allen who is incredibly underappreciated for what he brings. He led all NFL interior defensive linemen in pressures and was 3rd in sacks, only behind, I believe, it's Chris Jones and Jeffrey Simmons, or Jalen Carter, excuse me. Like, this dude can get after it too. They are going to bring pressure again. They're going to play tight man coverage, and when you have the defensive player of the year and Pat Surtain on the outside, and again, adding Jahdae Barron, Riley Moss, a player who, when Riley Moss went down last season, he missed like 4 weeks with a sprained MCL. The defense took a big-time drop-off because they started to play more zone, and teams were able to exploit that. When you have this defense healthy and they're attacking like Vance Joseph wants to do, it's the best defense in the NFL right now.
So, Lance, obviously, it's betting's a huge part, fantasy's a huge part too, and just going and looking at, and obviously I'm a bipartisan Broncos fan because of my son. I asked Carter if he had any questions, but of course, if it has nothing to do with his needs or wants, he doesn't answer me back. But if he needs something like rent was due for his new place in college, he sure have told me that today. So, yeah, that's good for you. I'm looking to. They have it set at 9.5. Are you taking the overs on that? Is kind of what I'm hearing for more the wins on the season.
I think this is an 11-win team at least. They won 10 games last year and just snuck it barely into the playoff. And if you go back and watch the tail end of the season, they won that close. Well, it was close at first, but then they took down the Indianapolis Colts because Jonathan Taylor can't figure out how to hold on to the football going into the end zone. So that kind of sucked. But for the Broncos, it ruled. But they took Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins down to the wire. I mean, Bo Nix threw 2 huge touchdown passes late in that game, both of them to Marvin Mims, one on a 67-yard air throw. By the way, 67 air yards throw to Marvin Mims at the very back of the end zone to get the end close, and then threw a toss-up ball to Marvin Mims at the end of that game to tie it to send it to overtime. That's Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, and T. Higgins. One of the most explosive offenses in the NFL. This team can go toe to toe with anybody. They really can. And hopefully, what we're seeing at camp right now, the Broncos are starting to focus more on running a lot of outside zone. They are usually a gap team. They run a lot of inside zone and duo. So duo is 2 double teams up at the front. They run a lot of that. This year, they're starting to focus on more outside zone, which is really what accentuates the skill set of J.K. Dobbins, who has great vision, great explosiveness. R.J. Harvey, same thing, great vision, great explosiveness. They can get vertical very quickly if they want to. If the running game and the play action passing game and adding in Evan Engram can actually hit the way that it's designed, this offense can be, I don't want to call it a top 10 offense, but if they're top 15 with the top 3 defense, they can absolutely be a team that makes the playoffs.
Stop. You keep mentioning Evan Engram. First of all, he was pot hands in New York. Good season with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you make it seem like, oh, he's prolific. This guy could be absolutely dominating. He goes over there and Bo Nix throws him and puts it in. You put him in a slot, he's going to be dominant. I do not believe Evan Engram is that piece, that missing piece that's going to make them just pop off. And honestly, the weakest part of this team is their wide receiving depth. If you look at it, Cortland Sutton is great. Am I going to trust that Marvin Mims Jr. is the number 2 guy? I mean, honestly, Pat Bryant, Trent what is it, Sherfield Jr.? I mean, there's no depth. Troy Franklin, there's no depth when it comes to the wide receiver. They're dominant defensively. They're going to be sensational defensively. Their running backs, J.K. Dobbins, you don't know what you're going to get out of J.K. Dobbins because how many ACL tears has he had? If he stays healthy, maybe you have a good 1-2 punch. But they've had problems with their running game. That's why Williams is playing for the Cowboys now. And R.J. Harvey, yeah, it's nice to say that he's a genty type of player because of what he did in college. You got to do it in the NFL with the speed. I think the weakest part of this team, even though Sean Payton is the mastermind and one of the best offensive minds in the NFL, is their offensive side of the ball and the wide receiving core. If Cortland Sutton goes down, what are they going to do? Who's their number 1 guy? Pat Bryant? I mean, seriously, Marvin Mims Jr.? Marvin Mims Jr. is not even healthy right now. They should have went in the offseason and looked for more depth on the offensive side of the ball. They didn't do that. And as much as you think that, hey, we got Evan Engram, pot hands himself, if you're trying to sell me that Evan Ingram's the missing piece to this offense, well, man, you're going to be madly surprised about what this team could be if somebody like Cortland Sutton, who I think is very underrated and it deserved the money in the offseason, if he goes down, they're screwed.
I don't disagree with that, and quite honestly, I agree with your take on they needed to add more pass catching weapons, specifically at the wide receiver position. But I'm also going to tell you what I've seen, what I've heard, and bring to you facts that are not just outside opinions. Errol, I love you, dude, but I cover this team for a living. I do this every single day. Marvin Mims is not going to be wide receiver 2 in this offense. It's going to be Pat Bryant. This dude just cannot figure out how to get covered. I know that sounds crazy to say it like that. He is always wide open. And going back to the early parts of training camp, the Broncos, based on what I saw, they were literally focusing on designing plays for Evan Engram on crossing routes to just get him the ball quickly and out in open space. And they did that for like the first 5 days. After that, they stopped doing that. Like, okay, we've already seen enough. We know. Then they throw it out there against the Arizona Cardinals, and he catches a 5-yard crossing route, turns it into a 58-yard gain. Pat Bryant on the backside. This dude on backside digs, which is one of the biggest functioning components of the Denver Broncos offense with Sean Payton. It always has been. The backside 15-yard in route. That 15-yard dig route, Pat Bryant is running across the middle of the field, literally wide open without a player within like 5 yards of him and catching everything thrown to him.
But you're betting.
Franklin has taken a big.
But you're betting.
I'm taking a big bet here. It absolutely does. It does have to. We're talking about preseason NFL football.
No, exactly.
I've seen some of it in camp too.
Right.
It's absolutely. Your concerns are absolutely 100% correct. I'm going based on what I've seen though, and what I've seen is there are times where this offense can actually like target some of these players. And with Marvin Mims, you're going to see him a lot out of the backfield. You're going to see him a lot of the slot. They're going to use him in motion. I'm not going to compare him to Tyreek Hill because he's definitely not that type of player. But picture what the Chiefs did with Tyreek Hill in that offense a handful of years ago. An explosive player that you can use as a gadget player and just try to figure out ways to get him out in space. He's the best punt returner in the NFL. And I know that sounds crazy to bring that up in an offensive conversation, but what do you need to be a quality punt returner? 1, you need great hands. 2, you need great vision. 3, you need great twitch and explosiveness in your lower half, great vision to be able to see what's going on in front of you, and also the ability to just start running at an incredibly fast pace that no one can catch up with you. He brings that to the offensive side of the football. It all depends on what Sean Payton do with him. Troy Franklin has taken a huge step forward this offseason in terms of his ability to take the top off of the defense. He's showing better ball tracking ability over his shoulder, which is something that he struggled with last season. If you remember correctly, Bo Nix targeted Troy Franklin on deep shots, I think 8 or 9 different times. He only caught 1 pass. It happened to be a touchdown in the Buffalo Bills game in the playoffs for a 47-yard touchdown to put the Broncos up in the lead 7-0. Yeah, that sucks. But he's showing that better ball tracking ability. Evan Engram, again, bringing that versatility over the middle of the field to open some stuff up. This offense is actually going to be kind of dynamic, and it really just depends on if Bo Nix is going to be willing to take those shots because he wasn't last season. And that's the biggest step that I have to see.
The New York Jets had Malachi Corley, who they decided to drop after 1 year. They drafted him in the 3rd round. They dropped him just recently, and everybody was shocked. This guy's a 3rd-round draft pick. And listen, if you want to bet on Pat Bryant, that's good. The Jets drafted Arian Smith, if I'm not mistaken, right?
4th round.
This guy was...
Aeneas Smith, yeah.
He's fantastic, fast. He did very well in the preseason. They think he could be a good number 2, maybe a number 3 on this team. But they're looking at him just because of speed and how he fits where you could put him in a slot on the outside. That doesn't tell me and sell me as a Jet fan. All you have is Garrett Wilson and you have maybe Mason Taylor. I'm not going to – if I'm a Super Bowl contender, which a lot of Bronco fans believe that they are with the defense that they have and maybe some of the running talent that they have with Harvey, if you're going to sell me that and Pat Bryant is your number 2 guy, that is scary. And I don't know. I understand that you follow this team. This is what you do for a living. It still tells me as a guy that I also do this, half a living, and I understand the game just as much as anybody. I know a little bit about Pat Bryant. I know he comes from Illinois. I watched him a little bit at college football last year. He's a speed demon. He's also 6'2" and 204 pounds. He's very light, and if he gets hit once in the NFL with the speed of the NFL, the guy could be knocked out. What are they going to do? They don't have any secondary offense. That would scare me. Yes, it is, Fish. 204 pounds is light.
Hold on. I got to give you some numbers here. So Pat Bryant last season at Illinois caught 54 passes. I don't remember the yards off the top of my head. 52 of them that went for first downs, and he had an 80.4% contested catch rate. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's 6'2", 204, but he is one of the best contested catch receivers that's come out of the NFL draft for the last, 4 years. Mm-hmm. Quite literally, 80.4% led college football last season by, over 8%. The dude knows how to catch the football on traffic. And let me just one quick last thing. Mm-hmm. Talking about the Broncos and what they had last season, retention rate, 86%. They just traded a player to the New Orleans Saints right before the preseason game the other day, and Devon Bailey, who was a 7th-round pick. Okay, Devon Bailey was the 2nd leading receiver on the Broncos roster. I think he got 47 passes. They traded Devon Bailey because they believe in Pat Bryant more than Devon Bailey, and they got a hell of a return because they got a 4th-round pick for what was a 2nd-round pick. Pat Bryant is going to be a freaking stud, guys. I saw it. I think it was Fish saying that he was going to take Pat Bryant now if Xavier Legette is on a slow draft. Absolutely, I wouldn't take him earlier than the 10th round, if even closer than that, or even later than that. But this dude is legit. They truly, truly believe in this player.
I really hope for your sake.
I love the guy, and also, so on that, one thing that also brings just an added value to the guy. It doesn't get much credit in terms of the fantasy football aspect. This dude will kick your ass in the blocking game. So go back and watch the crossing route. I've highlighted this play a couple different times. Evan Engram on the crossing route, 5-yard crossing route. Go back and watch that play and watch number 13 for the Broncos. He literally takes a Cardinals player and drives him 30 yards downfield and escorts him to the freaking sideline and throws him on the bench.
I love
this dude's a badass, man.
I love you. I really do. I got to give you a little bit of credit. You are absolutely a diehard fan of the Denver Broncos. And I'm going to tell you, if you haven't checked out Mile High Huddle, guys, go check it out. This guy's personality, he's got that emphasis personality, and he goes crazy. Oh, my God, Harvey, this guy's going to run all the way through you. I love it. You're like Vince McMahon of the WWE, buddy. I love it. I love everything about you. I think you're great. I love you commentating. I like everything about you. And I love watching. I've loved over the years watching you just grow as an analyst and a personality. I always appreciate you coming on the show. I want to get you on the show again. And maybe we'll get a slew of guys, but during the season where we usually have a panel and we just go at it. You're obviously, you have the Broncos. We got all these different guys, fans of all these other teams. We got Cotto, the Cowboy fan. We have Giant guys. We have all these guys. We'll get them on and we'll just go all at it, even though and I know everybody's going to say, well, you're a Jet fan. I'm also an Eagle guy, so I stand out for the Eagles too. So, and I wear Eagles hats on this show as well. So, But I love you, man. Keep up the good work. Keep putting your stuff out there and showing people why you're a growing personality for the Broncos and Mile High Huddle. It's really sensational. Thank you for joining us, bud.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. Just to throw out some stuff, you guys can follow me on Twitter at LanceS_MHH. Also, every Friday night on the Mile High Huddle YouTube page, I run my show, Dove Valley Deep Divers. If you haven't seen that yet, we got a merch tent. You can go to that milehighhuddlemerch.com. It's a pleasure to talk Broncos football with everybody, including you guys, to bring just that worldwide perspective. Like that 5280 view is what I call it. It's a mile high city. You got to get a mile.
Well, you should be promoting us too, buddy. I mean, seriously. We're going to promote you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Listen, I'm not toilet paper. Jabba definitely isn't toilet paper.
I use dude wipes. I don't use toilet paper.
That's right. I forgot about that. And as Jabba always says,
as long as she's using dude wipes and taking care of my two-hole, I'm good.
As we all know. But and obviously,
this makes my pecker hard. You just made my nipples hard.
Anyways, we love you. Keep up the good work. And I definitely, off air, we got to talk because I got my own takes on some of the precision you have when it comes to your team. So that's all.
Hit me up on Twitter.
I'll hit you up some other way.
Speedy's got my phone number. Get it from him. Give me a call.
I'll let you lick my butt.
We'll shoot back and forth.
Don't worry, he'll start loving R.J. Harvey and Evan Engram when they truck sticks the gremlin Travis Hunter.
Oh, that's another story. Well, we'll have to talk off air on that one. And by the way, I did not draft Travis Hunter. I saw him there in the later rounds. I still didn't draft him. I would never waste my draft pick on that idiot. Anyways, thank you, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Lance Sanderson, Mile High Huddle, sensational, great personality. And we go back and forth for a long time. And I watched this kid grow as an analyst. I remember when he only had like 3 or 4 people following his show. Now he's like, he's got a tremendous following. And he's doing so many things with the Broncos. And he's worked with all the different ex-Broncos over the last couple of years. He's had Von Miller on his show and everything like that. So love the guy. Keep up the good work, Lance. We'll talk to you soon, bud.